Hi, so we're going to explain, or I'm going to take some time to explain how one could use this template to create their own solution. So what we want to do is we want to type our solution using this program. And there's a lot of this preamble stuff that you need in order to make the whole thing work. And a lot of adjustments that you need to have just to make it plot a graph properly and stuff. I didn't want you to learn all of that, so I wanted to give you something as a start. So what I'm going to say is, okay, we have all that here, and we have a program that's working. We want to create a new program. So I'm going to select Command, Control Alt, Control C, and here I'm going to write new file, and I'm going to name it my actual solution. And then in the my actual solution, I'm going to press Control V and put what was in the template here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to look and say, okay, the math, calculus, life sciences, I want to keep this because it's a nice template. So it'd be nice to keep that. So that's here in the code. So I want just after that, I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to get rid of it. And now if I recompile, now I just have the beginning. Okay, and now I can type start typing solution. Recompile, and now it'll start typing my solution. And I'm gonna write as if I was writing a word doc. So we would like to model the temperature based on what time of day it is. And I want to make sure that the temperature is correct. Recompile. And we want to, and then recompile. And now I have recompiled. And now we get to a point where we want to put like an equation in. So if I want to look at an equation, I don't know how to do that. This is where I can go back to this template here and figure out, okay, how do I write an equation? And here, we've got a lot of words telling us exactly what to do. So to write, we simply write. A single new line will not create. Okay, so if I look here, to write, we simply write what we would like to say. And okay, that's written. And oh, there's a new line here, 63, 2 to 63. But if I look here, it doesn't create a new line. So that means a single new line won't create a new paragraph. It'll just keep writing in the same paragraph. So now the next line says we must use two new lines to create a paragraph. And I have two new lines to create a new paragraph. Well, that means here, when I go back here, if I go, okay, the worst part is creating a new paragraph. And then I recompile and I want it to make a new paragraph. In the document I'm working on, it doesn't create a new paragraph. So this is where the template, when I look at the template, I can see, okay, how do I make a new paragraph? And I can look, and in the template, it shows how to create a new paragraph. And now, let's say we've done some typing, we make a new paragraph, and now I would like to input an equation. And I type, and I'd like to input an equation. So now, how do I input an equation? And let's say we want to put in an equation, and we want sine x plus 2, and we want 3 sine x plus 2 minus 8. And I want to create that, and if I compile it in this way, it looks like that, which is okay, but not great. But there's a specific math environment to create those equations. And there's a few different ways we can do it. We can use dollar signs. If we use dollar signs, it will create the equation in the middle as a new line. But there's a few other environments. And if I go to this template, the template will, to write an equation, there are 3 ways we can use. And if we look at that here, it says, okay, begin enumerate. Enumerate lists items. And this shows you how we can create a list of items or a list using enumerate, then item, and using dollar signs. Oh, item using dollar signs. Well, that means one is the item, and then using dollar signs. Oh, I see this dollar signs function, dollar signs. That puts a function in the middle. So the dollar signs help me put in a function using the equation environment with assigning an equation number. Okay, so this is how I make an equation where there's a number sign at the end. So we can use this template to figure out if I don't know how to make something work when I'm making my document. I can look here to figure out how to make it work. And then we can use the align environment as well. The align environment is if we have multiple lines. And what I'm going to say is let's play with this align environment for a bit. So let's say I want to add equals sign x, and I recompile. And I look at what it makes. Well, we're going to get this equals sign x equals in the same line. And I'd really like its own line. So here we have this double backslash line here, and let's try that. Let's see what that double backslash does. Okay, that double slash makes it a new line, but it's not lined up properly. And also, that sign doesn't look great. I'd like it to be vertical signs instead of, well, if we do backslash sign, we get this nice vertical sign writing. But it doesn't align it with the equal sign. And oh, these are and equals, and this is just equal. If I make and equal, and let's try that, we get these vertical equal signs. Awesome. So that's how the align environment works. Last, we've got, okay, how do I make a graph? And making a graph can be quite hard. What I've done is I've done a lot of the background work for what's needed. And what I can do is, if I want to input a graph, I can copy this, go to my actual solution, input, and compile. And oh, I've got a graph here, but I don't want this graph. I want to change it. So let's say I want this be multiplied by 2, and I want to shift it over 5, let's say. I want to shift it up 1. So I can change the entries to apply the transformations, and I recompile. And let's see what happens. Oh, that's not great. It's moved up and down, and this isn't what I want at all. Well, I want to have, let's recompile it now and see, okay, what my labels, okay, that's not great. If we recompile, what will we get? Okay, that's better, but I want it to go higher. So, well, let's make more numbers. And these Y tick here is where the ticks show up. And this Y tick labels is what's labeled on those tick markers. And oh, I have -1 to 1 is the range printed. Oh, I want to change that to 4 because I want more of the graph printed. And let's try this. Oh, that's much better. I've got the whole graph contained here. But let's say now instead of 0 minus the x going from -2 to 2, let's say we want to go from 0, and let's go by like every 4 hours. So 0, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. And we want to go for those 6 hours. Well, I want my x min to be 0 to 24 because this is adjusting the domain of the graph for the x values. Those are locations, but I want those locations to be the values. I also make the labels that occur. So I'm also going to change my labels. And now let's recompile it and see what happens. Oh, that's not great. I changed the domain, but the graph got printed weirdly. Oh, here's the domain of the graph. So let's change the domain of the graph and also recompile. Oh, this looks a lot nicer. Now, this might not be the graph that you want, but what you can see is you can start to see how you can change the graph to make it what you want it to be. And then once you've changed it to be exactly what you want it to be, then you've got that particular graph. And let's say you wanted to put another graph. What you could do is you could go back here, copy, paste, and now you can print a second graph. So as you're building up this document, if you're typing and you're trying to put an equation, you don't remember how to put an equation, that's really where this template's really good. You can read this template, figure out, okay, how do I make an equation? Okay, I make an equation by, oh, I could use this equation environment. Oh, I don't really like those numbers. How could I get rid of that numbers? Oh, this is how I make it without the numbers. So that's the idea behind this template. It allows you to figure out how to make stuff. And then as you're actually typing up your document, you would be typing up your document using your actual solution, type, and then you can input graph, input an equation, all that kind of stuff. And there's a specific way to do it. When you're finished, you can click download. And that's going to download your PDF. And in your downloads, you'll have downloaded what you created. And from here, if you go back to your CrowdMark, and you can, from CrowdMark, you can sign in. And with Toronto, sign in with Marcus. When you've signed in, you can then go to your question and you can drag and drop a submission. I hope that helped. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me.